topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is a show that we've been doing probably the last 10 years, and I just have so much faith in this company and what they do. And they're one of our few shows that we usually only allow 25 minutes. This show I love the fact that we can offer it for 50 minutes each month. And then we took another step because there's so many people out there with problems with the IRS. And Barry does such an amazing job. We made this show a national show. So I think this is our second month that we have just opened it up for the whole United States. And let me welcome to you, my friend, one of the top taxation experts. I'm telling you, in the whole United States, not just in Texas. Good afternoon, Barry.
Hey, good afternoon, Steve. Glad to be here. It's always a great time when we get to talk about,
I love doing the show with you, Barry. It is. I hope I never have a tax problem, but I got to tell you, what's so good about your company is, look, you've been doing this a long time. You have a lot of burden on your shoulders. It screws up your family life, everything, when you've got problems with the IRS. And what you do, Barry, and I think you realize what you do, you make people feel so comfortable. And that, you know what, you're not the only one this has happened to. It happens to people. And the way you treat your clients and the way you do the show, we are just so blessed to have you.
Well, when we started doing this show, we met back in Florida a long time ago doing probably our first video we ever did for Taxation Solutions. And you and I had a great time, sitting there talking, and we talked about tax relief, and we talked about how it affects everyday Americans and how we want to take the stress out of life. We want to take the stress of the IRS off their back and put it on these big, broad shoulders, that I have, and, the people at our company have, working to stop the IRS from intimidating, everyday Americans. It doesn't have to be intimidating. It just needs to be done the right way, and working within the rules of the IRS, working within what we've got available to us in different strategies and different programs to actually make this work for the everyday American, the people out there that are having to deal with this. And it doesn't have to be embarrassing. We're in a no judgment zone. And, we used to do radio with WSM out of Nashville. And I think many, many years ago, Marcia Campbell, who I was dealing with there on a late night trucking program of all things. And she goes, you've actually got a no judgment zone. And I mean, wow, ever since we got that line and talked with her, that's really what we have is no judgment. We don't pass judgment on you. We want to make this life easier and better for you that's going to be our client, and not having to deal with the stress of dealing with the IRS, be able to sleep at night, not worried about if they're going to take money out of my bank account, not worried that, I'm going to lose everything. All the worries that go into when you get that, wonderful letter, from the IRS, and you don't know what to do with, and you end up taking that letter and you throw it in the trash, and then what do? Hey, that's what the stress we got to get away from and get them to start dealing with the problem so that they don't have to do that, and they can sleep at night, their wife can sleep at night, or their significant other, and everything else. And it makes family life a lot easier too.
Barry, it's got to make you feel so good that, when they walk into your office, how much stress they're under. And the fact that once they sign with you, that they no longer have to talk to the IRS anymore. You take so much of the stress off of your clients.
Well, here's the fun part about it is that you become a client with ours, and you get that initial call, and the first thing that our admins and I and other enrolled agents and people that are working for us are saying is, hey, don't worry, we got you now. We're going to be calling the IRS here in the next day or so. As soon as you get us that power of attorney, we've taken over. If an IRS agent, calls you, you're going to get in the mail from us a whole package, and it's going to tell you and lay out everything that you need to say and do. And we email it too, so you have it right away. But the very first thing you learn to say is, I have representation from Taxation Solutions. You call these guys and hang up the phone. That's it. You give them the phone number, you give them the name, we take care of it from there. You don't have to say another word to them. Matter of fact, they'll say, but you don't need, hang up the phone. I don't care what they have to say. I don't care what they want to say. You're done. That conversation is over. You smile as you do it because you go, hey, I've got relief. I've got Taxation Solutions. They're taking over, and they then have to call us and deal with us. And we get to take care of it from there. Now, as you and I have always said, hey, we can't do anything without you picking up the phone and getting it started at 888-930-1016. Or, hey, if you still feel embarrassed after listening to this program or any of our other shows that we've got out there, go and look us up at taxationsolutions.net. You can go to our webpage. You can put your information in, and we'll give you a call. And we'll sit down and talk about it. And then that way, it's not really embarrassing for you. It's us calling you. If somebody else answers, we're just calling to talk about your taxes or whatever, just like any other tax preparer would. We're not giving out your information to other people. We're not giving out what your problem is to other people. When you see all the people that have given us reviews or all the people that have told us, hey, what a wonderful job, or how we've settled this debt for this or that. We may use their first names, but it's their approval. And there's a lot of people that don't want information out there, so we don't put it out there for them. But we do such a great job for our clients, and I love what we do, and I love the relief we give them. And when we're talking on the phone with them, you can just sense that in their attitude. You can sense it in the way they talk, their perception as they're going through this, instead of being, I got this tax problem and I really don't want to talk about it. It's, hey, I've got relief now, and they're happy, and you know it.
Barry, one of the other things I love about you is you don't let these agents, these IRS agents, you or your staff, they don't intimidate you at all.
No, as a matter of fact, I have fun with it. They got so many new agents out there that don't even know what they're doing. We've got to train them as we go. Just yesterday, I was on the phone, and I think I was on the phone for 2.5 hours for something that was so simple that should have been done in less than 30 minutes. I'm on the phone talking to this person, and all we needed to do was set up a payment plan for this guy. We already had everything worked out with prior agents and everything else. And we just had the notes in the system that said all we had to do was call in and send this one form in to get it done. and I'm on the phone for 2.5 hours. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And, you know, I'm trying to be very, very nice to this person because I just need to get this done. I don't need to call back and do it. And there's times I hang up the phone and do it, but I still thought when I got through the first 45 minutes, I thought, oh, we'll be done in another 10 minutes. No, we're on the phone forever with this person. I was like, man, this was a mistake. Now, can you imagine as a taxpayer having to deal with that? They would have walked all over you. With me, I just tried to, play it off. I got what I needed done. I got the deal that I needed for the client in place. It just took a little longer than I expected or budgeted for. But those are the kind of things that do happen. And, you know, that poor young lady at the IRS, she probably had no clue what she was doing or who she was dealing with. But we got everything done we needed to get done.
Barry's so humble. He won't. I mean, he's shared so many stories with us, and I one of my favorite is he knew more than the agent did, and he ended up. Remember when you went above their head to their supervisor?
Oh yeah, that's happened many a times. The one that I think you're talking about happened a couple of months ago or so, and the agent is telling me that actually my client had to come in and meet with him. Ooh. And I was like, no, he does not. I stepped into his boots and here I am, I'm representing him. And matter of fact, I don't even need to come down and see you because A, my client has already taken care of part of this problem. B, we're saying, okay, everything else you're going to charge him here for and raise his taxes for is correct because the tax preparer really screwed this up. And C, it's not required. And oh man, he went off on me. I'm telling you, I've heard some words from IRS agents, but never words like this. He taught me new ones. And I've been doing this business a long, long time, as you know. And so I ended up picking the phone, calling the manager, and the manager is like, Mr. Fowler, yeah, I got you covered. I got you taken care of. He called over here and told me everything that happened. And I had to tell him how wrong he was. I said, well, you know, I quoted him, you know, the Internal Revenue Manual code, gave him the numbers, told him where to go look up this stuff so that he could understand what we were talking about and he could learn. And he just went off. And so he goes, well, you know, he's really a nice guy. Well, it must have been a really, really, really bad day. Or he just didn't get what he wanted. So the territory manager took care of me and I was like, hey, that's all I needed. We got done what we needed to get done. We just had to go above and beyond his head to take care of it. And the next time I called, you know, I had to talk to him and he started giving me some rhyme and reason. And I said, I really don't care. You should just apologize and move on. And, you know, and then he started going off on something else. And I went, sir, you're wrong again. Let's go through this code number. And now you'll understand. And then he finally went, yes, sir. Okay, that makes sense. Good enough. We got it done. We're hanging up the phone. Hopefully I'll never have to deal with you again. Or maybe in about 5 or 10 years, I'll be unlucky enough to get you and you still won't know what you're doing. Who knows? But this happens more and more these days because these guys are new and they're just learning how to work within the Internal Revenue Code. And some of these people come from collection backgrounds, meaning they could care less what you say or I say or anybody else says. And all they want to do is collect every dime from you that they possibly can and intimidate you to do it. And they're not going to intimidate me.
Barry's in Houston right now, and we're in South Florida, or we have a really bad storm here. So if we get kicked off, I know Barry can continue on if we get kicked off here. Barry, there's, you know what, that's one reason why someone should not try to handle the IRS themselves. Because just the story you told us, they would have been so intimidated.
That's the big reason you don't want to handle it by yourself is because you never know what you're going to get from the Internal Revenue Service. You know, everybody needs to understand that when we work with the Internal Revenue Service, we know what we're doing. We know the rules and regulations inside and out, the manual inside and out. We know how to take care of you. When you're calling there, what they're only looking for and their only goal with you is to collect 100% of the debt that you owe the United States government. And that's what they're charged with. They're not charged with, hey, how do we help this person get back on their feet? They're going to give you sympathy and empathy. But at the end of the day, what they're looking for is every dollar you have and how they can get it from you. And, you know, that's probably the bad thing about dealing with such a large government entity, that you need somebody that's on your side, that's going to protect you and help you down this path to do it. And you've got to find somebody. And so whether it's Taxation Solutions, whether it's another tax relief company out there, one, and make sure they're a qualified enrolled agent, because I believe enrolled agents, one, we have the most knowledge about the tax code. I mean, that's our sole job, is taxes and representation. CPAs are involved in bookkeeping, or they're involved in, doing audits for SEC companies. And that's what you learn when you go to school. I mean, I was a CPA. I don't knock what we've learned going through that. But as an enrolled agent, you actually had to learn everything about representation and representing clients and knowing the tax code inside and out. You know, we get tested before we get our license. We have to do continuing education every year, 30 to 40 hours of just on taxes, not on bookkeeping, not on QuickBooks, not on all this other stuff that you could go out there and do that's nonsense, but it's on taxes and tax resolution, tax relief, representation, and of course, ethics. And we've got to do all of that every single year just to maintain our license. And not to mention that before we even get our license, we have to go through a full FBI background check. So, you know,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hey, we're qualified. And that's the beauty of hiring an enrolled agent. And the majority of the people that work for me are enrolled agents. They're going to deal with the IRS. We use some CPAs here and there, and we use some tax attorneys where we need to. If you got a real big problem that you're dealing with fraud and criminal investigation unit, first thing we're going to tell you is here's a referral to a good attorney that'll handle you on the criminal side, because we're not going to mess with that. And so you've got to be aware of what your situations are. And if we do find that out, that's the first thing we're going to do, is bring in a attorney to represent you. But that's, you know, you got to be pretty bad to have had that. And so you've got to deal with that in a whole different way when you're dealing with that. My dogs are barking too. See, I got guard dogs that are taking care of the IRS as well. They're chasing them away.
You know, Barry, you were just talking about, you know, being on the phone with them for a long time. People don't really, if you've got a business, which Barry handles business, but try getting them on the phone. Here you're trying to do business and then work with the IRS. They could be on the phone for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Easily. And I mean, we've got a priority number that, hey, Jasper, come here. We got a priority number that we dial in, and even on that number at times, you know, we're on the phone for an hour or two and stuff. And, you know, it drives us crazy, but, you know, there's things we've got to deal with to get there.
Barry, you've been doing this for a long time. Do you get people who contact you about they're being audited and ask you to be there during the audit?
Oh, yeah. You know, we handle the audits, both business and personal. You know, what we like to do is be able to sit down and make sure we get all the support for your tax return. And we sit down and talk with you and go through it in depth to say, hey, okay, what do you have? Let's make sure that, you know, we dot the I's and cross the T's for you and do it. And maybe you've lost an audit because you didn't have representation and you didn't provide paperwork or information. You know, we can go back and get the IRS to reconsider the audit that you lost. and get that back for you. We did that for a business that went through an audit several years ago, and they lost those 2 years and owed over $1.5 million because of that. Now the taxes, because they were an S corp, were on them personally, and so we went back and supported all the numbers. Went back and asked for an audit reconsideration, and actually won the audit reconsideration and got it down to a $200,000 to $300,000 tax debt. So $1.2 million savings because we were able to go and get the IRS to do an audit reconsideration and push this through. We've had another client, happened to be very wealthy client, that he went through an audit, and actually this was a correspondence audit. We could not get the auditor to respond to us at all. And I mean, we sent information in and nobody to talk to. And that's sometimes the bad part about these correspondence audits. And he lost the correspondence audit, even though we were 100% correct. We chose not to go through appeals and went and had it go directly to tax court. Because I had had enough of this. I just wasn't going to deal with this anymore. And now, we're not lawyers and never wanted to be lawyers, don't charge legal fees. So we can't go into tax court and do it. But I can actually represent in mediation in tax court, because that's what they're going to eventually do, is send it back to mediation first. And we gave them all the stuff. And to this day, I still can't figure it out, which is fine. We supported everything and gave it to them. And my client got a $150,000 check back.
Wow.
Now our tax return was 100% correct, 100% paid. He had no tax due. He paid a lot of taxes in and everything, but this mediator for the IRS came back and decided in our client's favor that he should get $150,000 back. Had to talk to my client and explain to my client, I honestly don't have any idea how he managed to get you $150,000 back, because he couldn't even explain it to me. He just told me this is what it was. And please sign this in blue ink so we can return this to tax court and be done. And he's like, well, I don't want them coming back at me and telling me that this is wrong. Oh no. Once it's done in tax court, it is sealed. There is nothing else that's going to happen. So my client walked away with a $150,000 check. I at that point, I wasn't going to go back and question them, because, hey, the IRS is right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to let them be right, even if they're wrong, and it doesn't really matter. So it was a beautiful day. I mean, it's things like that happen. Representing a client in an audit where she was deducting way too much mileage. I knew it. IRS auditor knew it. She took deductions that she had no reason to take for her small Schedule C business, even though she had a full-time 40-hour, 60-hour a week job. And I sat there with the IRS agent and listened to her, and I couldn't disagree with anything what she was saying. But because my client had everything really detailed and really good and put together, including why she was paying cash to independent contractors, because she bounced checks to them and everything else, I took it to appeals. This is where we won. We got every mile that she drove or had in her log for business deducted. We got every contractor payment she made, because I convinced that appeals officer that the cash paid out was because she was bouncing these checks and they would only take cash. And so, those are the kind of fun things we get to do when we're dealing with IRS audits. And, we find ways to go through and win these audits, even when maybe we shouldn't be winning them, but we've got to do what we got to do for our clients.
Barry, I don't know if Barry likes me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I had a relative, and I would do this for anybody I know. I would recommend Barry to anybody. And I had a relative that I told him to call. She was so nervous. I told her to call Barry. I didn't even warn Barry that she was going to be calling. And she called me back in a couple of days, so excited. And I said, oh, you talked to Barry and he's going to be able to help you. Well, no, he said, I don't need his services. And here's how you can do it yourself. And that just like, she was so excited because if you read a lot of the reviews about some of these huge companies, God, it's just, there's so much negative reporting on there. Like, I paid him my money, didn't hear from him for months. And with Taxation Solutions, this is Barry's company, and customer service is so important to him. But can you imagine someone getting excited and Barry wasn't able to do anything except put him in the right direction? And I never forgot that, Barry.
We have that happen quite a bit. We sit down and we do things a little differently than other people. We're going to sit down and talk about your problem. We're going to talk about what the IRS is doing. What are they claiming that you owe? What are they claiming that you've done? What are they claiming? This doesn't make the IRS right. But then also we talk about, is it worth hiring us or our services? In some cases, it's just easier to tell you, hey, this is what you need to do X, Y, and Z, and you should get to this deal. You can go and do it just as simply and easier than probably us, and why pay us the fee to do it? Because we want to make it reasonable and we want to make it right. The second side of that is that, hey, if we can help somebody to help themselves, and they're in a bad situation as it is, and it's just, hey, whether, our fee is going to be too much or our fee would be more than what it would be worth doing, we're going to tell you that. We want you to know that. We set ourselves apart from other companies that are out there. And then, speaking of that, next week, we're going to now have our Truckers, Taxes, and Tax Relief podcasts coming out. And so you're going to have to look us up.
They can watch it.
You're going to have to look us up at taxationsolutions.net. We'll have links out there. We're going to have, you can go to our Facebook page at Taxation Solutions, and we'll have our links to the podcasts and everything else. It's more about just getting information out about, taxes, getting information about bookkeeping, getting information about tax relief, which is what our specialty is, so that, hey, maybe there are some simple things you can do to save yourself from the IRS. Maybe you've called around to other companies and you need to know, hey, is this right? Maybe the podcast will help them out. Maybe some of the information that we give out there will help somebody decide, hey, I just need to pick up the phone and call Taxation Solutions and see whether XYZ tax relief is actually telling me the truth, or they're just trying to sell me something. Because a lot of companies in our position are just out there to sell you something. We didn't look at it that way. We look at it, how can we help you relieve yourself from the stress and relieve yourself from the IRS?
Barry, I got it. We get a lot of emails, people wanting to know, is pennies on the dollar really true?
Well, first off, to get help, call us here at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. I'm never really good enough at getting that number out enough on the radio. Or go to taxationsolutions.net. I always laugh when I hear that. When I got started in this business many, many years ago, you've already made me feel really old saying I've been doing this for a long time. So, that used to be the biggest ad that was out there all the time, is settle your IRS tax debt for pennies on the dollar. You still hear that, or you hear, oh, we're going to do the Fresh Start program.
Yes, the Fresh Start.
Oh, this is like our program.
Yes.
Pennies on the dollar, you really can't say that. I mean, yes, we settle a lot of things for a lot less than what you owe. It's not necessarily pennies on the dollar. There are some people that'll settle 30 or 40,000 for $100. We've done that many, many times, or $1,000, or a couple $100,000 for 20 or 30. So if you want to call that pennies on a dollar, yeah. Are we going to promote it that way? No. Does everybody get that? Absolutely not. No matter what the big companies out there are telling you, absolutely not. Do you get that? When you call into the IRS, are you going to get that, or are they going to get that for you? It all depends on your situation. Everybody's situation is different. People talk about this wonderful Fresh Start program that they have, like it's their own proprietary thing. It's an IRS Fresh Start. I call it IRS Fresh Money Program. Because it's all it's about is getting your money in, fresh money in, money they haven't collected for many, many years out of you or I or whoever the taxpayer happens to be that owes them money. And so it's a fresh money program. There's great things in this Fresh Start program that makes some of the things that you do or we can do to settle this a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, the only way you're going to get an offer in compromise is if you go through the steps and actually qualify. You don't have a lot of equity in your house. You don't have a lot of assets. You don't have a lot of income. You don't have the money left over at the end of the month based on not your feeling, but the IRS national standards. Not what your cash flow is, but what the IRS says your cash flow should be. So there's a lot of differences in the way you've got to look at this and the way you've got to go through and qualify for these programs. And so, we take you through the steps to do it. And we're going to make sure that, you're going to qualify and that we're going to get you through there. And we'll also help you modify your financials to make it work within the IRS rules. So, hey, maybe you need to do this to make this better here and to lower your income. I mean, we've taken people and remember, not everybody is the same. So anything I say here does not mean it applies to you as a taxpayer or for you to do your offer. We've got to analyze this for you, but we've added somebody and said, hey, go out and buy a new car, get a new car payment. It lowers your offer. Instead of your offer being $500 more a month, you could take that money and your offer will be a lot less or nothing or almost nothing if you have another car that you're paying on. Now, that's like the IRS paying for that car because you'd either pay that money to the IRS or you pay that to the car dealership. Which one do you want to rather do? I'd rather have the new car and not have to do repairs on an old car that I've been driving. We've even gone to the extreme and told husband and wife, we got a husband that owes, $100,000, but with you there, we can't get a settlement. You make too much money and we've got to include your income to offset part of his income to the expenses. So get a divorce. Oh man, you want to hear a really bad conversation? Suggest that to somebody.
Yeah.
But then you go, hey, look, you get this divorce and you settle $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 worth of debt you will never pay over the next 5 years. And sometimes that makes a little bit more sense. We got to look at this financially. I hate to tell people some of those things, but sometimes that's the way things work, and it works out, to their better. We look at everything.
Speaking of that, tell people, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but tell people if they don't take care of this problem, what can happen to them.
Oh, it's like the phone call we had today. Somebody just got levied for $19,000 out of their bank account.
Ooh.
Hey, the good part is it was, what? We're sitting here 20th of the month. At least your mortgage payment or your rent's not due today.
Yeah. That's one way to put it.
Yeah, I didn't know how other to give them, good news out of that. But the IRS warns you, the IRS sends you letters. The IRS will threaten to lien, levy, wage garnishments. They want you to react and do something. This guy's bank account got levied by $19,000 today, and he immediately picked up the phone and called us. Now, unfortunately for him, he had a conversation with us about 2 or 3 months ago and chose not to do anything. And he just lost $19,000. And he goes, well, can we get it back? Well, we might be able to get some of it back. We may not be able to get all of it back. We can work with you and try. But if you would have started with us 2 months ago, you still have $19,000 in your bank account, and you wouldn't be in this situation. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but that is the case. They're going to send those letters out. Take them seriously. When you get the letters in the mail, open them up, read them. People don't read these days. I mean, it includes contracts. It includes, hey, when you're signing up for new cell phone service, whatever it is, you don't read it. Well, open those letters up and read them. They do tell you, hey, you either owe money, and it's just an annual reminder. You're going to be levied, and you have a final notice of intent to levy. It means they're going to do it in the next 45 days. Be prepared. And you think they don't know where you bank? Think again. They are the largest collection company in the world. They're going to find it. They're going to do it. When you're going
to lose your house too, can't you, Barry?
What's that?
You could lose your house or a car.
It's very, very difficult these days. If you are in business, you can lose your business. I've seen businesses for sale. The funny part is we've represented some people out of New York, and they had their liquor license put up for sale. Sometimes, the state of New York, it's hard to get new liquor licenses. So they were selling the liquor license. It was worth some good money. Shut them down. Houses, it becomes a little bit more difficult. Yes, you could. You're going to get a lien on your house, so you can't do anything with your house. Your mortgage company isn't going to be happy with you. You're not going to be able to sell it, because when you do sell it, they're going to take everything that's there. But if you ignore them long enough, they will just say, hey, we're going to go after it. It's a lot of paperwork. So a lot of times we're able to work with those IRS agents who are going to threaten to go down that road to actually put a plan in place that we can get a smaller payment and make things a little bit easier for you. So you don't have to worry about losing your house. But with the equity in the house these days, the IRS is seeing that, and they're seeing it more and more. If you're in business and you've been using that money to buy new vehicles or buy new trucks or putting it into property, the IRS sees that as that was their money. You should have paid them first. Go to a bank, get financing on it as quick as possible. And pay the IRS off, or call us at 888-930-1016, and let's try to work around all that and be able to keep your business running the way it's been going and improve the situation for you so that we can make it better.
Barry, we just got this is actually it's from Texas, San Antonio. What if the bank puts a seizure on my account? Can you go in and grab the money back? Do you understand that?
So the seizure is the IRS has levied your bank account and they've taken the money. So the bank holds on to it for a period of time. We've got to get involved with your revenue officer who authorized this and show them what the need for the money is so that we can get the money to come back. Now, if you're an individual, and it would be things like, paying your mortgage, paying your car payments, paying, all the electrical bills and stuff like that, you would default on all that. We would have to show them all of that, and they would be able to give us a month's worth of living back. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're able to get more than that back. If you were in business, we'll be able to go in and get money back to meet payroll and payroll taxes and things like that would put you in bigger default and basically shut your business down. So, but we need to get involved with it today.
Yes.
Not a week or two down the road, because if you wait the bank isn't going to do it. The revenue officer is not going to have enough time to give you money back. And I can almost tell you with an 85% certainty, once that money hits the IRS, we're not going to get it back. Few times we have done it, but it's few and far between because it's harder to get money out of their grubby little hands than it is to get it to them to release it before it hits the IRS. So, you've got to go through a lot of steps to get there to make sure that, we can get that money back as soon as possible.
Barry, do you have an office in Chicago?
Unfortunately, yes, I have a remote office in Chicago. You can't carry in Chicago, but that's beside the point. But we use it mostly for meeting with IRS agents. I have a sister that's up there and a nephew that's up there. My sister does some work for us. She's a CPA and will do some work for me periodically, and she meets with people in Chicago when we need to. But most of the stuff we do is going to be virtual, and we do this nationwide. So you work with the team that I have here just outside the Houston area, and we do this nationwide for our clients all across the country in every state.
This is from Ted in Chicago. He wanted to know if you have an office in Chicago, but he wants to know, can you explain what offer and compromise is?
So an offer and compromise is when you owe tax debt and can't afford to pay it, that the IRS allows you to settle for less than what you owe. And now there's several different programs within that offer and compromise. There's just doubt to liability, meaning that you really shouldn't have owed this money and you doubt that you owe the liability of it. Effective tax administration is another way we can go with it. And then the standard offer and compromise where you're actually settling for less than what you owe. Some people will put them on a 24-month payout. Some people will have them pay within 5 months of the offer being accepted. But we've got to go through a full detailed plan. We've got to detail out every dollar that comes in and out of your bank account to show that you can't afford to pay this. And then we've got to match to national standards. So the standards for you in Chicago and what it costs you for housing and what they allow. And even if your housing costs more than what the IRS allows, the IRS is going to defer back to the national standards and tell you to lower your lifestyle. Those are always fun conversations to have with our clients, but it's even more fun when we start trying to talk and negotiate this out with the IRS as well.
I don't know if this is the same person. We've gotten a text before from Hawaii, but this is Shay in Hawaii. I think it's a male. He wants to know, how does the IRS select taxpayers for an audit?
So, Shay, a good question. So a lot of what the IRS does is a lot of matching. So when you look at the bulk of what the IRS letters come out, when you're filing tax returns, is they're matching W-2s, 1099s, interest, brokerage statements, all the information they now get on you every single year, and the computers do their own matching program. Then the IRS will have a select few that the system will automatically go through and select for the audit. And a lot of it is people that are on Schedule C running small businesses. Because as I like to say all the time, I think the IRS thinks every small businessman lies, cheats, steals, and they never report all their income. So they're thinking, hey, I'm going to go after that. So it's a higher number of those people being audited than people that are generally on W-2. And then red flags. So you can go to taxationsolutions.net, and I believe we've got a whole list of red flags there. And I mean, simple things.
On your website, you do?
On our website, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And so you can go over there and look them up and see them. And if you don't find them, email us at info@taxationsolutions.net, or just do it right off our contact page there on Taxation Solutions. And, we'll send you some of the red flags that the IRS has. Some of them are as simple as people go in on Schedule C for their small business and report all round numbers. $2,000 for advertising, $5,000 for this, $7,000 for this. We do books for people, and we've done bookkeeping and everything else. We never can come up with that many round numbers. Maybe one of them or two of them may round up to an even number, but the IRS sees that, and that computer is keyed to it, and there you go. You're now being audited, and so those are some of the things you got to look out for.
Well, Barry, we've got about 3 minutes left. I want you to spend these last 3 minutes on why a person should hire your company, Taxation Solutions. That's plural, by the way, solutions, and make sure you do .net.
Yeah, unfortunately, we use .net.
You've had it forever.
We've had it. Yeah, we've had it. Seems like forever. And now you're making me feel older again. Why use us? I think every program that we do, you can listen to what we do for our clients. You can go to the Better Business Bureau here in Houston and look at our rating, which is A+ rating, and I'm very proud of that. We've had that since we've been with the BBB. And customer service, our people take care of you. You're going to hear from us more than you want to. As a matter of fact, I get people that tell me, "Hey, you're calling me way too much." I'm sorry. We want to keep you informed. We want you to know what's going on in your situation, because that is your life and you need to know. Yeah, and I don't care whether we're simply sitting in a holding pattern waiting for an offer to be reviewed or accepted. We're going to let you know that's still there. We're still looking at it. We're still watching. We're going to let you know, hey, we've been waiting on this information. We will call frequently. We've got deadlines coming up. We've got to meet. You've got to help us. We can't do it by ourselves. But above all, the professionalism of our staff, the care that our staff takes care of you and helping you through this problem to give you that relief, it should be reason enough for you to pick up that phone and call us. Even if you don't want to use us. You may have called one of those big ones you've heard on the radio, and they've told you the song and dance, and you've got, man, this is the pipe dream. This is what I've wanted. I can settle this. But you're just not sure, and I would be not sure. You call 888-930-1016. We give you that free consultation. We'll talk about your problem. We'll talk about the solution and what can actually be done for you. Not what I want to sell you on, but what can be done for you in your situation. We'll give you pricing, and then you choose, hey, do I want to go and believe the pipe dream? Or maybe they're right. And we'll tell you, hey, they're right, but we'll give you our pricing, and then you can choose whether you want to go to them or us. But come get that competitive quote. Come talk to us and find out. There are people that call us all the time, and they'll say, XYZ Tax said they can give me an offered compromise. And my guys will go, that's completely impossible. You have too much money. You have too much equity. That isn't going to happen. Here's what we can do for you. Here's where we're going to go. And here's our cost. And no, we want to go and do that. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months later, they're calling me and going, you're right. Well, now we got a bigger problem because they've drugged this down the road further and further and further, or they've put in an offer in which is completely invalid, and they've extended your statute of limitations, and now your debt is extended out 6 months or a year longer. Those are the things we want to avoid. Or they didn't even look at the strategy of doing maybe a partial pay installment agreement because statutes are running out. But those are the things that we get to do to help you, to get you to where you need to be to live your life comfortably without the stress of the IRS. But again, you got to go to taxationsolutions.net. You got to call us for that free consultation, 888-930-1016. And again, starting next week, we should be having podcasts out. You got to connect with us. We're going to be getting information out to people about, truckers tax, tax relief, IRS problems. All that's going to be discussed in these podcasts to help you, the taxpayer, put a better idea of what it's going to take to solve your tax problem.
Barry, this is the easiest show to do. I don't even have to have notes. Barry's going to be back again with us next month. And watch, because he also does a Houston show with us, which is going to be next week. Barry, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Steve. I didn't even know I was going to be on next week in Houston, but hey, that's great. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, again, catch these shows over on YouTube, Ask the Experts.
Or iHeart. You can go back and watch any of the shows in the iHeart library. So,
and if you don't have a tax problem somebody else does, refer them to these shows because, man, This is great. And Steve-O looks really good on the big screen TV because you can watch it on YouTube on TV and see Steve-O. You know, we're still waiting on Sophia to come here, so maybe we just talk about her being on TV. But
I'm going to come in for the rodeo.
Hey, you do that. We'll take you to the rodeo.
Okay, bud.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Steve-O.
That's Barry Fowler, Taxation Solutions. That's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more. Thanks a lot. Juan.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.